When you hear the words artificial intelligence, what pops into your head? Maybe it's self-driving cars, or maybe it's those super smart robots from the movies. But what's the real story, right here, right now? Well, in this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers and see how AI is already changing everything, from the way businesses run to the massive questions we're all facing about what's coming next.
Okay, let's kick things off with a quote that, I gotta be honest, might not seem all that exciting. We're here to talk about AI, and the first thing we're looking at is a business problem. But hang with me here, because this is actually the secret key to everything. The real story of AI today isn't some sci-fi fantasy. It's about solving very real, down-to-earth challenges.
So, before we jump into the huge, world-changing questions, let's get our hands dirty. What does it actually take to make an AI project succeed in the real world? It turns out, the answer has a lot less to do with brilliant code and a lot more to do with, well, people.
And this right here is the first, most critical step. Are you trying to solve a business problem or a research problem? A business problem is all about a clear, immediate goal. Like helping a farmer increase their crop yield. It's about making something better today. A research problem, on the other hand, is more like exploring. It's about discovering what's possible. And you know what? A ton of companies get into trouble because they mix these two up.
And it's not just about asking the right question. Look at this list. The real keys to success in AI are kind of boring. It's the unglamorous stuff, like making sure your data is clean and not a total mess. It's figuring out how you'll even know if you've succeeded. And, this is a big one, it's being able to explain what the AI actually did to a normal person who doesn't speak in code. Seriously, the technology is just the very tip of the iceberg.
Okay, so we've seen what it takes to get just one AI project off the ground. Now, let's zoom out. Let's look at the huge picture. How is this technology shaking up not just a single company, but the entire economy, and with it, all of our jobs?
So why is every company on Earth scrambling to adopt AI? This number pretty much says it all. Accenture is projecting that AI could boost corporate profits by an average of 38%. I mean, with that kind of money on the line, is it any surprise that this is a full-on gold rush?
But of course, this economic boom has a massive flip side. A famous study from Oxford University looked at hundreds of jobs, and a really clear pattern emerged. The jobs that are most at risk, the ones that are predictable, that are routine. But the jobs that are the safest, they're the ones that need a uniquely human touch. Things like creativity, empathy, and complex problem solving.
And please, don't think for a second that this is some problem for our grandkids. A McKinsey study found that nearly half of all the tasks people do at work could be automated with the technology we have right now. So it makes you think, doesn't it? Take a hard look at your own job. What parts of it are just following a script, and what parts rely on you being, well, you?
Okay, we've talked about the economic promise, and we've talked about the threat to our jobs. But there's another, maybe even spookier danger hiding in the code. What happens when these super powerful algorithms, which are making more and more decisions about our lives, just get it completely wrong?
Let's take a look at Amazon's attempt to build an AI to help with hiring. They fed it a decade's worth of resumes to learn from. The only problem? Most of those resumes came from men. So what did the AI learn? It learned to be biased, just like the data it was trained on. It got so bad it literally started downgrading any resume that just included the word women's.
And if you think a biased hiring tool is bad, just imagine that same kind of hidden bias showing up in a courtroom. There's this tool called Compass that was used to predict the likelihood that a defendant would commit another crime. But a bombshell investigation by ProPublica found it was nearly twice as likely to falsely flag black defendants as being high risk compared to white defendants.
The data scientist Kathy O'Neill actually came up with a pretty chilling name for these types of biased black box algorithms: weapons of math destruction. It's such a powerful phrase because it's a stark reminder of what can happen when we blindly trust code that we can't see and can't question.
So after all these horror stories, you might be thinking, okay, is this whole AI thing just a terrible idea? Well, the good news is no. The tech industry is finally starting to wake up to these huge dangers, and now the race is on to figure out how to build AI we can actually, trust.
And this is pretty much the blueprint for how to do it. All the big players in tech are starting to rally around a core set of principles. The AI has to be fair. It has to be transparent so we actually know how it's making decisions. And maybe most important of all, there has to be accountability. A human being has to be responsible when things go sideways. We can't just throw up our hands and blame the algorithm. All right, we've looked at the promise and the peril of the AI we have today, but now it's time to tackle the biggest question of all. What about the AI of tomorrow? When you listen to the debate about where this is all headed, it really boils down to two completely different visions of the future: utopia or dystopia.
So, in the dystopian corner, you've got some of the biggest names in tech sounding the alarm. Elon Musk, for example, has famously said that we need to be super careful with AI, warning that it's potentially more dangerous than nuclear weapons.
And that's a fear that was shared by none other than the late, great Stephen Hawking. He warned that once we develop a true, full artificial intelligence, it could take off on its own and maybe decide that humanity is just an obstacle in its way. A truly chilling thought.
So there you have it, these two completely opposite futures. On one side, you've got the optimists, like Mark Zuckerberg. They see AI as our ultimate partner, a tool that will help us cure diseases, solve climate change, and unlock a new era of human creativity. But on the other side, you've got the pessimists, who worry about a future where we lose control, where we create a superintelligence that we can't put back in the box.
Which leaves us with this one final, incredibly important question. We've seen that AI is basically a mirror. It learns from our data, from our history, and from all of our deeply ingrained biases. So, as we build these minds that are getting more and more powerful, the real test isn't just about technology. It's about morality. Can we figure out how to teach our own creations to be better than we are?